and Miller Lite did a 1-second commercial, and it was just a guy that had a beer that said "High Life." That was the end of the commercial.
That was it.
And it was the talk of the town. Running gun, shooting scoot.
I'm not a shoot and scoot guy.
Spray and pray.
That's my favorite. I think you coined that yesterday.
I did.
Yoda.
Yeah.
Y-O-T-T.
Yoda bites.
Y-O-T-T-A.
Yoda bites. Baby Yoda bites.
Yoda bites, meow.
But yeah, they built an expectation, and then they showed you something that you didn't expect.
Shock and all.
High Life.
That's why you want to take water and run it over top of the electronic.
Yeah,
Totally.
Well, you're not.
that's why
so,
water cooling is so good.
hits me right in the feels every time. Makes me feel more American.
Unless there's a cow in the middle of the field that happens to be purple, and all of a sudden you cannot pay attention to any other cow but that cow. Okay, so that is what contrast is. All right, so I want to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and because every time I think about this from any perspective that I do, it seems to have applications almost everywhere as either a pro or a con, and that's contrast, right? And so if I can define contrast as the ability to stand out, I think there is a lot to talk about, especially in terms of visuals. Okay, in movies, there's a lot of application in making commercials, ads, etc. Like across the board, there's so much importance. Like and to this point, a long time ago, when Ari's a camera company, they make the highest end of maybe not the highest end, but the very high
tier.
end of it's top tier. For cinema cameras, they make almost all the movies that you've seen.
Yeah, at the end of every Marvel movie, you're going to see them in the credits.
Yeah, exactly. Now there are other companies. We're not going to get into those, but what's really interesting about Ari is when they started transitioning from being like film-based cameras into digital cameras. It's really interesting that they didn't make the leap into resolution, right? Because that is like the race of everyone. When any beginner starts looking for cameras, their first concern is how many megapixels is it? How many megapixels is that? And so on and so forth. And the longer you're in image making with cameras, the more you realize that resolution does not matter that much unless like you're using resolution as a tool for like VFX. That's where it matters. But Ari made the transition from being like film loading cameras to digital with the idea of keeping color and contrast as the two biggest things, because those are the things that the human eye grasps the quickest, right? And so like, and I guess we're made that way out of necessity, right? Because that's how we survive. Like we notice when something is not
From
normal.
an evolutionary perspective.
Sure, yeah.
If you're looking across the savannah, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
you're
see
gonna notice
the same color.
Whenever, like, and if you've ever read Seth Godin's book, Purple Cow, that's the perfect example of what I'm talking about. When you drive past, and the premise of the book is this: when you drive past a field full of cattle, right, you're gonna look at one or two cows. And then you're gonna broadly see that almost all of them are pretty much the same. You stop paying attention to individual cattle, and you just make an assumption on all of them that they're all the same, unless there's a cow in the middle of the field that happens to be purple, and all of a sudden you cannot pay attention to any other cow but that cow. Okay, so that is what contrast is, right? In terms of
Standing out,
right? But contrast belongs in marketing everywhere. It belongs everywhere because and one of the big points of that book was the most dangerous thing that you can do in a saturated marketplace is do what everyone else is doing, right? Because then you're just another cow.
but
And
also
so-
doing nothing. You're also just being invisible.
Exactly. If you're not standing out, if you're not making effort toward like contrast in the way that you have contrast, in the way that you can have contrast, then you're invisible. Like for instance, I notice there is this auto detailer, and it's weird that I notice an auto detailer, and he has brought a camera to like every detailing appointment that he like has, and so he makes a video almost every day, and like it's cut together pretty well. And like he just like you see all the attention to detail that he does, and you know what? People are paying him a lot more than they're paying other people, and it's not because other people are not doing the same thing. It's because they noticed him, right? He stood out because he made himself stand out. And in terms, there's a lot of interesting things there that I want to investigate, and one of them is color. Okay, color contrast is a really big deal. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Gone Girl. I haven't actually seen the movie myself.
Great movie.
I haven't seen the movie myself, but I've seen scenes, and like because it's like it's a film school example for how to deal with color and contrast. And there's
do you want to set up the clip? Do you have a clip here?
Yeah. There's actually a clip I want to that I want to show. And so this is a press release scene, and now there is a rule in filmmaking called the I think it's 40-50-10 rule. I may have my numbers wrong or right.
60, 90.
Oh yeah,
30, 60, 10.
Yeah.
30. Yeah, there
30,
it is. Yeah,
yeah.
30-60-10. I said it right before we started.
Yeah.
30. There's the 30-60-10 rule, and the rule is like most of your scene should be like one part of the color wheel. All right, and so go ahead and play the scene, and I'll talk about it while this plays, and we can kill the sound on it. All right, so look at this scene. Okay, you have 60% of the screen to be like one color, right? And then you have your 30. That's the other color that's like white, and you see your yellows, browns.
A lot of brown.
Yeah. And so that's what's really interesting is that go ahead and pause it. Go back a couple seconds and pause it right there. All right, Ben Affleck is the 10%, right? And so contrast here is him being the one blue shirt in the room, and so you're looking at him, and like
It's great set design.
Yeah. And yeah, I want to talk about that in just a second. But like your eyes are going to be drawn to him just simply from the fact that his color is different. And they're also, another thing that's interesting, which is a little off the topic, but they're also communicating emotions, right? So because this is a very depressing,
even down to this videographer's vest is brown as well.
And
His
you didn't
shoes
even
are brown. I didn't even notice that until I'm like pointed it out.
And that's what's interesting is like when it's so wild what we don't notice, right? We stopped noticing anything, right? Because it was all the same.
Well, and that is 100% intentional. Right?
Yeah,
and it's it's intentional because if you've seen the movie, you know that the whole premise is that his wife's gone missing and he's the
Spoiler.
prime. Well, you
Spoiler.
you learn
the
this in the first couple minutes of the movie. He's the prime target, right? He's the prime suspect because the husband's always the prime suspect, right? So both from a writing perspective, a storyboarding perspective, and then backed up with great set design and great costume.
Can you call that number 1-855-4?
Amy tips.
Maybe tips. I would also say it's an assumption of like we understand back to the cows, right? Like that's a courtroom. Everyone wears boring outfits. It's the same beige suit you always see. So like that is great set design, as Ryan said it. But when you're up for it, you have to dress for the occasion to impress people. He's trying to dress up a little bit, and you get that 10%
terrible
little
dressing
star.
And as
terrible.
Yeah.
So
untucked shirt.
let me talk about this because this is where videographers really run into a wall, because you see stuff like this and you hear people talk about stuff like this, and it's like it's a little overwhelming because you were just trying to make it through your shoot day. You were just trying to like make this video happen. You were just trying to like make it through your shoot day and like make it on schedule.
There's a million things already
There's a
going
million
through
things in your head that are going on, and this is like, so how do you think of all these things? Well, here's how these people think about these things. There are a lot of people in the room that specialize in one thing, right? And so when they have meetings about each scene, you have the art department there, you have the cinematographer there, like his whole thing, because there's more than the types of contrast that we've already discussed here. The other kind of contrast is they have a very hard light on Ben Affleck and the guy that's next to him. Okay, so that is in an exposure way lifting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's providing contrast
Right.
too.
And so there's somebody in the room when they have these meetings that are thinking about just the lighting. How can I create contrast through lighting? They have the art department who's thinking, how can we create contrast through the outfits, right? The thing is, you don't have to be the end all be all, right? And so, but if you're going to, like, start thinking about how can I bring as much contrast to this as possible from the pre-production, right? Because this doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah, this is not day of. This is
Right.
all through months of planning.
And if you want, so if I guess if I'm trying to tell anyone, bring value to anyone here, you don't have to be the end all be all, but you do have to start thinking about, like, how can I bring contrast in pre-production about the things that we're doing, like, and how do I want it to look? Because I've always hated just showing up to a shoot and seeing what we get, right? Because that's a recipe to get nowhere fast.
Run and gun, shoot and scoot.
I'm not a shoot and scoot guy.
Spray and pray.
That's my favorite. I think you coined that yesterday.
I did. Shoot and scoot.
So I don't like
You
shoot
never
and
heard
scoot.
that? You never heard that before?
No, never heard. I've heard run and gun, but yeah, no. So I'm not a shoot and scoot guy.
And then spray and pray too. That's another one.
And you know what? If you're looking for a great videographer, if you're looking for a great video experience that's gonna work, like, look for someone who's willing to go through, like, meetings on meetings in pre-production.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to charge for that. And I know that's more expensive, but, like,
Get a
there's
better quality product.
oh my gosh, it is. I think pre-production is the thing that defines end of day success in video, right? Because when you're just showing up, it's random, right? What the people are wearing, it's going to be random. The natural light that's available, it's going to be random. If you didn't plan the time of day and you're outside, your lighting is going to be random. If you didn't check the Sunseeker app, it's going to be random. Like, and so you are playing roulette with the success of your productions.
That's a lot of variables to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why more people help.
Mm-hmm.
That's why more people help.
That's why movies cost so much money.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
in terms, so
And why the credits go for
Ever.
20 minutes.
yeah, no kidding.
There's about probably another 20 to 30 people behind them right now.
Yeah, depending.
If
depending.
not, if not more.
Depending on what the
Just in the
director
room.
prefers. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the room. So in this room, you're gonna have obviously the set designer is on set, the script supervisor, all the ADs, of course the director,
Haven't
maybe
even
a
talked
producer.
about audio, right?
Yeah, audio.
Oh my
yeah, I haven't
God.
talked about audio.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
lighting, grips.
Now-
So yeah, you have about 20, 30 people in the room, and then you probably have the whole staff of the whole film production on the outside of this building as well.
That's
So-
that's another
It's
100
100 plus people on set probably.
Let's play this with let's play this with
this
the
in
audio
mind?
now.
Yeah.
All right. So you start to hear normal crowd noise. You start to become accustomed to it.
The hard light on him.
Now wait, listen for that crowd noise.
No, my wife,
It's gone.
Amy Elliott Dunn, disappeared from our home on the morning of July 5th under suspicious circumstances.
Louder!
If anyone out there,
So
I
okay,
love
okay.
that.
Pause.
So
Pause.
from
Pause.
a writing perspective, they're even providing contrast through writing, right?
I'm
because
pretty
this person's
confident
shouting at
all
him.
that sound is from a Foley artist, and that's not real. That wasn't actually being done.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say so.
No,
Like
I think
background
Well, no, all the sounds, not his voice, but like
the sound
the
design of the
camera,
sound
shutter.
Oh,
background
yes.
audio.
a Foley artist is what makes those, like the ones you see, like they
Oh,
do
yeah, yeah.
the stomping.
But the
and
guy shouting, I think, is on set.
Could
I
Oh,
get the
yeah, I
impression.
Could be.
would say-
Yeah,
I would say
I'll
so.
tell you the things. I think the things on set. The guy didn't have to be on set. That shouted, but
He
the
looks
things that are on
stoned
set
as
is
hell
his
right now.
voice,
Sorry.
and that might be it because there's real echo
Yeah.
that you're hearing, right? So that's probably all there, and then they just kind of add those things in. But what's really interesting is like when someone starts talking and like noise goes down in a room, it never fully goes down, but you see like how much they like made him the only thing that was there.
Focal point.
And then from a story standpoint, the guy shouts out louder. And so all of a sudden you're like, like the attention, like it's in an uncomfortable way, shifts to Ben even more.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, this is
That's
like
powerful.
this is
I'm gonna rewatch this tonight. I haven't watched this in a while.
masterclass of contrast in this movie.
Well, and
David Fincher, right?
One more thing on yeah, I think so. One more thing on this is until you brought it up, I hadn't really thought about contrast among colors as much. As you always think of like high contrast stuff, you think of like black and white, right? And you think about just like darkness and then this like overexposed area on the screen that you're looking at. And you know, there's a couple ads that we've shown in the past that have that, but this is like adding a whole new dynamic to it, right? It's just like understanding the color wheel and how the colors
the colors that are on the opposite side sometimes but things can have, you can utilize color contrast in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But typically, one of the easiest ways to utilize color contrast is it's a three-pronged set of spaces on the color wheel. You have two that are next to each other, and then you have one that's on the opposite side, right? So you just look at your little color wheel, and the one that's on the opposite side can be your 10.
Yeah.
Right. So you have, and I'm not looking at a wheel. No, yes, this is. So looking at the color wheel right now, you have your yellow to orange on one side. On the very opposite side, you have your blue. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So contrast can help convey a story to capture that person's attention, to pay attention, and it can be used in many different ways. So you can contrast with color, audio. Can you bring up the video I sent? Bring up the Dodge Challenger commercial. Contrast as far as in time periods captures your attention. So this is an ad from Dodge. Hits me right in the feels every time. Makes me feel more American. There's a minute-long version, but I couldn't find the 1080p version, so this is the 33-second one. So I'll go ahead and hit play. I'm just going to let it play through.
Movement. I agree. Gets me in the feels.
Cars
Yeehaw!
and freedom.
Cars and freedom.
That's perfect. I love it. I love it.
Instantly grabbed. Wait, that doesn't belong there.
It didn't belong, right? The ability to stand out. Yeah, that's cool.
And the violin with the American. I don't know what song that is. It's playing in the background. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. They
hits you right in the feels with that song. Like
they built the time period, right?
Yeah. They built an expectation.
Well, the location's wrong, but because of where they're fighting looks more Rocky Mountains, and I don't remember
instead of Appalachian.
Yeah.
Mountains.
But still, I let that pass. But it's still great.
Oh yeah, there's a lot we can forgive. But yeah, they built an expectation, and then they showed you something that you didn't expect.
Shock and awe.
But it made me, when I first saw that. Deadpool fell. When I first saw this, again, this was like in 2013. It makes you. I'm like, man, I'm gonna buy a Dodge Challenger. It's so American. And that's just the feeling you get from this well executed commercial. So
that's cool.
So what like inspired this, right, was our first podcast where we played the
Under Armour commercial.
Under Armour commercial, right?
Well, we were just talking about great commercials, but in an aspect of contrast with sound and color, I think this commercial does it really well. So if you want to bring that up.
Do we have that?
Yep.
That in there? Yeah.
So we'll play this one through. It's great at telling the story, but yeah, the
unbelievable
sound design in this alone is phenomenal.
All right, and there's like that. Go back to the right there. All right, so that is your very classic example of contrast, right? So look at the top left of the screen and look at the bottom right of the screen, and this all dark, right? And so that could have been color graded in, or they may have just had a roof that could open. I don't know.
It's probably color graded.
Yeah, it could be either way.
The focal point is on Michael Phelps.
Yeah. Either way, so they're drawing you in and making you pay attention to something, even though like center composition is not usually something that you want to strive for. Like center composition is like sometimes it's unappealing.
Less interesting.
Yeah, sometimes it's less interesting. But like the way they're doing this is they're making you look at a certain thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. And they're doing the by exposure here, differences of light.
It's the last goodbye.
All right. No, go back. All right. And you don't think about this because you're just looking at somebody working out. This looks totally normal. Look how much brighter he is than everybody else in the room. There's other people in the room.
Everybody else is
There's a
wearing
whole
blue,
gym in
he's
the
wearing red.
room. And yep, exactly. So, well, yeah.
Everything is blue. It's all blue
Yeah,
color
blue,
graded.
blue,
And
blue
he's
pants.
red.
He's
Yep.
wearing red.
I'm telling you what, these people is
And he's
smart.
wearing red shoes.
These people are smarter than me.
Like,
But
Wow.
yeah, so you see that. So they're using exposure and color, and they're just making him pop out. So
Well,
you're not
when
looking
you have
at someone else.
when you build a commercial for about $1 million, yes, I would expect this
You'd
level
hope
of
so.
results.
I wonder what kind of light they use there, because it's very directional and it's not spilling anywhere else. Anyway, go ahead.
Goodbye, I swear. I have no
Color.
regret.
They turned his skin more orange than it is there,
Is behind me.
and he had blue sheets.
Tomorrow
Orange and blue are color
reminds
contrasting.
me just
Orange and blue.
where.
Framing. Sound.
Can't quite
Unbelievable.
They keep going back to that establishing shot too.
how can I
oh yeah, he just swims on forever. Never ends.
Yeah, they're using a lot of orange and blue by making his skin and the color grade look a little more orange than it actually is. Saturating the oranges. Good colorist.
Did he retire?
Can you
He's
go
still
back just a
going?
little bit, Aaron? Where he's got the halo around him. I thought that was really cool. Right there. Yeah.
Yep.
Right there. That halo effect around him.
Yeah, just lighting someone from behind.
Yep. That's cool.
Backlighting is like
There was that one scene a little bit further back where he's in the water by himself. Keep going. Right here.
Oh yeah.
oh
that.
yeah.
And then the sound that they give with that, and then there was another scene that almost gave you this. The sound gave you a feeling of it's cold outside. So when he's looking at the empty pool outside with all the leaves on the ground, go back, a bit more. Start just a little bit before this, so you can hear the build up. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wind.
that's
The
Sound
wind.
design.
It's
Yeah.
like
Sound
it's
design
just
is
the sound of,
communicating
like,
something.
Oh,
Yeah.
the wind. Oh,
I
it's
didn't
just
even
cold
think
outside.
about it.
That's just like, oh, it must be cold outside, and I'm not training outside because or whatever. And he's just staring at a pool filled with leaves, and it gives you that sensation. It's cold outside. Again,
Yeah, and it may not even be. That might have just been art props.
But that,
Yeah.
but that was the feeling I got from watching that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. And
brilliant sound design.
it's wild the things that you stop paying attention to because you're just immersed in something. Anyway,
That's awesome.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the writing. What you do in the dark. It's your life.
Beautiful.
Baller commercial.
Under Armour sponsored the set.
We're not sponsored by Under Armour yet.
Brought to you.
I
Think
am.
Fresh Move Forward. Brought to you by Under Armour.
I mean, we are wearing Under Armour polos.
Oh yeah.
That is an Under Armour polo that
It
James
is.
is wearing.
It is, Yep.
Mm-hmm. So commercials aside, how does this for business? How do we contrast a business?
I mean,
I
this is business. This is
oh,
marketing.
sure, it's
and
marketing. But like,
Well, I think so. So there's the difference between ads and marketing, right? But contrast belongs in both. Marketing is your strategy. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are more about this than I am. Marketing is your strategy and the way that you're facing the world. Your business is facing the world.
Yeah.
Ads are a tool are basically
yeah,
the manifestation of your marketing.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And from an ad perspective, right? I mean, there is a very clear stated objective of most ads, and the number one most important element of it is attention, getting attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not getting attention, then you're doing the opposite of contrast, which is blending in, right?
Right.
And if you're blending in, then you're not getting people to reach out to you and do business with you, right? So attention being the number one thing, and one way that all of these ads are creating attention is through contrast.
So Lux Metal Card, the entire aspect of that business model is contrast, is to make you stand out.
Oh yeah.
When you hand someone a metal business card,
bold.
it throws you off. It's like, wow, this is a metal business card.
Interesting.
So
We had to get a plug for Lux Metal Card in here.
Brought to you by Lux Metal Card.
Brought to you by Lux
Thank you for
the show is sponsored by Lux Metal Card.
All right, so let me ask you, James, because you were the copy expert here.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't say expert, but
how do you come up with contrast and being different, right? So like, what helps you guys in terms of like, how do you achieve that? Because we're all in marketing in some aspect. And Cody, you have a totally different perspective on contrast, because you don't want contrast
you
in
don't
IT.
want to be standing out.
Like you
for
don't want to be
security.
like standing out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Sore thumb.
Yeah.
Sore thumb.
Yeah.
So how do you?
Well, I think from the perspective of a powerful hook, both copy-wise and or script-wise, is important, right? Because that hook is the attention grabber, right? It's so
and that's a hard thing.
Yeah, it is. It's challenging.
Having a compelling
Yes.
hook when everyone else is also trying to have a compelling hook
Yes.
is so hard.
It is.
Which is what
It
was so
is.
brilliant about the Super Bowl ad that of the what was
the QR code.
the
that
QR
just
code that just literally just bounced,
The
right?
DVD little. Whoop.
Talk about
They took-
contrast,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Black
They took-
screen, bounced
White
DVD.
square.
Yeah.
And that's such a good way of thinking for contrast. Because everybody else was trying to get your attention with the most outrageous thing they could say or do,
Yeah.
and they took the most unassuming thing that
Most-
exists, which is like
It unlocked
DVD.
childhood memories right there. You know? It's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. And so like that's a phenomenal ad.
Yeah,
Because
that's the one.
and
It was
it's a
for,
phenomenal
it was for
ad.
crypto.com. Is that what it's for?
It's a
It was-
phenomenal
It is.
ad only
Coinbase?
because of where it was existing, right? Because if that ad just exists like on NPR television,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Mhm.
it doesn't do anything. Everybody's like, "Oh, something's wrong with NPR."
Well, they also recognize the fact that everyone is already on peak level of attention because it's a Super Bowl and because it's Super
Everyone
Bowl
looks
ads,
for those
right?
Super Bowl ads.
You think
yeah.
about how probably 50% or more of the people in that room are really only there for the ads, right?
This
Oh,
guy.
The
yeah.
other half
This guy.
is there to
Guy.
watch the game, right?
Yeah, I'm
and
not-
follow their bets, right? But the rest is there to watch the Super Bowl ad, right? So there it is.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
and-
I
and
can't
then-
not watch
and
it.
and
I
in
cannot
lieu of
not
that,
watch this.
It crashed their website because
Oh, yeah.
so
They couldn't
many
handle it.
people went to their website and
Immediately.
actually crashed. Yep.
I mean, you think about how do you even project the infrastructure for that, right? Because you just got to think about, okay, how many people are in every room? What percentage of those people have their phone right next to them that can do it in time? And then what percentage of those people are actually going to do it, right?
Yep.
And so maybe they projected
That's a-
that to
it
be
worked-
like
in
worked
a
5%.
great way. That is a really, really good way to do a smoke test on your infrastructure. Like,
See if you
hey,
can handle it.
let's see if our infrastructure can handle millions of people coming to our website in under 2 minutes.
So they spend $150,000 a second. Okay.
yeah,
about
I mean
to
that's
go
a
to cut.
pretty good test, honestly, to see how
Yeah.
fast everything come back up. And
Well,
how,
it's still like that
like-
1 second commercial back in I think it was the year like the where the cost of a Super Bowl commercial came to the limelight, and Miller Lite did a 1 second commercial, and it was just a guy that had a beer that said "High Life." That was the end of the commercial,
was it.
and it was the talk of the town. They spent only $125,000 for a 1 second ad, and it got the most talk of the town. 'Cause
That's
it was
funny.
Because
short,
it caught
sweet,
everyone
simple.
off guard. Just a dude.
Yep.
High Life.
It was,
Talk about
it was
contrast.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And so my point would be, I think in most cases with most ads, the copy is going to come second, right? Because you're going to hook them with the visual aesthetics, right, of whatever it is, whether it's a graphic ad, a print ad, or whether it's a video ad. That you got to hook them first with the visuals, right? And then whatever you write and whatever is delivered from a copy perspective is going to be additive to that.
Well,
right?
but then you have just text ads. So like Google Ads is
Oh,
a huge
totally.
part of our
yeah,
business.
totally. And see, a lot of that is more just about putting it in words that people are expecting to see. It's about expectation, right? Because you want people when they Google you. When they Google you, they want the search intent has to be there. So whatever they were intending to see is what you want your ad to be.
Yeah, and I want to hide. But see, it's a mixture of so the first thing when it comes to Google ads is getting someone to click on your ads. So you want a high click-through rate.
Yes.
And it's only text, so someone to click on it. Then it turns into a visual component because now it's from the design landing page, which is more visual, taking the person down through the buyer's journey.
Yep.
Copy. It's all that playing in toe-to-toe.
And that's an interesting I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan, because it's interesting because it's different fundamentally than a social media ad, right? Because on social media, you're trying to pick people off from their daily scrolling, right? So in social media, you're trying to create attention, snagging their attention. In the case of a Google ad, you're trying to match their intent.
You're pulling on their pain points.
You want them to they're Googling something specific, a service or a need, and you want them to immediately see that service or need in your ad because they're like, oh, that's where I'm clicking.
You're not trying to be different. You're trying to match an expectation.
There you go, right? And in some ways, that'll make you different, right? Because not everybody's writing ads that way. Some people are writing ads to just write ads.
And that's how Google makes their money, is from agencies and companies like us that give them over $500,000 a year, and they don't even send me a thank you letter.
Tell me how you really feel.
Jerk-offs.
I want to go back to you, Cody, because for your business to be successful, it's almost like you're pitching the opposite of contrast, right? You're pitching peace of mind, security.
Yes, but I mean, like, it's a business at the end of the day, so the sales pitch is the same.
Yeah.
But the service is completely opposite. I am a service that serves internal IT, right? So it's like I am here to make sure things don't break. Things don't end up on the internet, or you don't have a data breach, or you don't have these things that are constantly going offline. So we want to keep your data secured and safe and not being seen in, obscurity and being anonymous. Depending on that level of security you need, you don't want to be contract. You want to be invisible. So mine is all about staying the same. You have policies and procedures in every company in security. We have those international standards to be identical, because in technology, if something happens, we have to be able to say, hey, this is a problem, needs to be fixed, roll out a patch.
You're trying to spot contrast.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're trying to spot like insecurities.
Vulnerabilities, definitely. And in human nature, it's natural. We always have that. We'll always find it, right? So in security, in IT, we have to be able to discover it and get rid of it. You're like pretty much
purple cows are a bad thing in that case.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. It's very different, right?
Mad cow disease.
Mad cow disease. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Got those Trojan horses.
Do we have any other commercials that we had, or is it just those three?
I had none.
That is a contrasty commercial, right down.
Yeah, we can just keep that going on.
That's
there.
pretty good.
Bink, bink.
Yeah, no, it loops because I've watched it for a good 10 minutes now.
Has it hit the quarter?
It loops.
Does it ever hit the
This
corner?
particular one loops, and
It's a good thing that wasn't an FTX commercial, and it was one for Coinbase.
Yeah, that's a lot of contrast right there.
Lack of contrast, actually.
What's it? Fortune favors the bold, right? Is that what Matt Damon said on that commercial?
So
that Super Bowl commercial.
Was that? No, that wasn't. That wasn't FTX. It wasn't
FTX. It was Crypto.com.
It was Crypto.com.
Yeah, which also tanked though, like from a valuation perspective.
Right, but it's still around because they didn't steal $10 billion of.
What was that? What was that meme? You would have $1 billion if you put $1,000 into shorting every company.
If you had shorted every company that did a commercial on the Super Bowl, you would have $1 million, which is $1,000 on any one of those companies. You'd shorted them. Carvana, any of those companies, anyone that did a commercial in the Super Bowl, all of them went
this past season.
Yes.
Wow.
So
just
like Carvana was trading almost $300 a share.
It's $8.
Yeah.
If that
now it's
right
single digits, right?
Oh yeah, they're going bankrupt.
Yeah. So it's like.
But they didn't add on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you would have shorted $1,000,
that's crazy.
Yeah. If you think about shorting a stock and a stock that drops 90+% in its valuation, like that's
money.
So yeah, that's massive.
I don't trade enough to realize that or make that assumption. It's like Super Bowl is a great indicator of short all these stocks. Now, if Jim Cramer says to do something, do the opposite. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
he's
the guy who's got the buttons.
He's
say,
the
sell. Buy. Yeah.
If someone did a study or followed all his trades, if you were to follow all his trades verbatim, you would have lost almost all your
Just
money.
follow your senators.
Not to mention the fact that anybody who's giving advice on like a mainstream platform, all of the advice that they're giving, the second they've said anything, it's already
It's obsolete.
Yeah,
The- no,
because
even
everything
before
trades
that.
so
Oh,
quickly
yeah.
now. Like,
Well, these big hedge funds also would do. It's from a PR. It's smart. So on their end, is they would go on television and tell them they're doing something, but they're actually doing the exact opposite to either get more people to buy into the product, create all this hype. Yeah, everyone's buying Tesla. I'm just using Tesla as an example and say this happened with Tesla, but everyone's buying Tesla and it's driving up the valuation, and they're one of the biggest shareholders in it. So they're just using this it's just a marketing scheme, get people to buy it, and it pumps up the stock, and then they sell out.
want to make very clear we
They
are not
do it
giving
all
financial
the
advice.
time. Yeah, I'm not a financial advisor.
We're not giving
Speak
financial
to your
advice.
financial advisors. This is not legal advice.
Put a
So
disclaimer on everything.
here's a random thing if you didn't know that in trading, it's so quick, right? People don't trade anymore. It's all algorithms and whatever,
yeah.
right? So by contrast, you want to be as close as possible to your data servers. Okay, so you were talking about like Wall Street.
Proximity.
Oh yes, because
Literal distance.
literal distance can cost you or save you millions because of how quickly things communicate back and forth between the stock market. So people in Wall Street will pay a premium to be closer to where the stock trades are at. If you didn't know that, that's the thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, ever since like the 2008 crash, people would try to get like the T1 lines and T3 have multiple gig lines in their building and all this nonsense just to try to get 2 milliseconds faster. Just to
Interesting.
get trades faster.
Days,
you know what?
the days of like trading spaces. Remember that movie from the 80s, right? Where they're all like trading commodities on the stock exchange. They're
Yeah,
writing
Oh, that's
tickets.
gone.
All
That's
those,
so
all
slow.
of that's gone.
Oh, yeah,
now
it's
it's
gone.
just about computers and transactions.
Yeah, getting data faster.
and arbitrage. A huge amount of arbitrage in this tiny, small
Mhm.
transactions. And
Did you know Microsoft and Facebook paid millions of dollars to lay a line of cable from Spain to Virginia Beach?
I know that. So it blew my mind, and I don't know why this wasn't obvious to me. But have you ever seen the cable like under the ocean
It's
Yeah.
for internet? Like
oh yeah,
all
It's
internet
about-
like travels by big freaking
Hey,
cables that are
hey,
just
Aaron.
laying on the bottom of the ocean
Mhm.
floor. It's
Goo-
wild. Like
Google,
yeah, look it up.
Internet,
Look it up.
Internet lines over ocean or cables like over ocean. To show you. Yep. So the main two hubs is between Russia.
By the way, this is one hell of a segue from contrast.
I mean, it is
Yeah,
still
yeah.
technically contrast.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, everything communicates over these lines. It's like not satellites.
It's
talking
wild.
about
Everything
contrast,
is
I like
over
your
lines.
sock game. It's strong.
Thanks, man.
Sock game is strong. Yeah.
I got some paisleys.
Yep. Yeah, they're
Some
huge.
dots.
So what's crazy is that these cables are probably about I don't know, yay big, and the actual cable for the line is probably about this big. But to protect it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There you go.
How
That's
they
a
have
good
all
one.
these
Yep.
layers.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's been videos of people.
Maria internet cable under the Atlantic Ocean is
Mhm.
finally done.
And that's what we're doing. And,
Facebook and Microsoft
Microsoft's
laying it
actually
down.
trying to, since the hardest thing with computers is cooling, right? So you like liquid cooling, right? Ooh, big thing. They're actually trying to submerge data centers in the Atlantic Ocean
I've never seen that.
Wow.
because why not? It's a heat sink. Just attach all the heat sinks to the walls of the container and just
Yeah, let's
sink
heat
it.
up the oceans.
Yeah, that seems like a problem though, right? From a global warming perspective, that seems like a problem.
I think you need a lot more data centers to
Oh
really.
yeah, but,
I
I mean
don't
it
know.
worked.
I
It
mean-
worked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, it worked.
I'd like to see the data on that.
That seems fine. Let's do that.
Well, they only did it with like the size of this room. The
Yeah,
container
yeah,
had like
yeah.
50 servers in it, and
Yeah.
then they only did it for like a year.
yeah,
but,
so everyone should just do it.
oh, totally. Why not?
Let's just all do
But
it.
in comparison to the data centers now, the heat that we dispense is actually better because
Things are more
conductors,
efficient.
right? Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, highly more efficient because it's directly on a heat sink and the water dissipates heat faster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
did you guys ever
yeah.
go to
It's like
Ryan's?
my GPU, my PC,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, Ryan had a crypto
Oh,
farm.
my crypto mining farm.
Yeah.
Dude, heat was the most pain in the. That was the most difficult thing about crypto mining was managing heat
Dispersing
Yeah.
heat.
That's wild.
and directing it. I learned so much about that BS, and then you have pressure and negative pressure and all
Hot
this
and
stuff.
cold aisles.
Because you have to replace that air that you're pulling out, right?
Yeah. So also, we're sort of fighting against myself because that room wasn't properly.
That room was not designed.
It was not one. It was not designed, but we made it work.
Yes.
So it was jerry-rigged approach, if you've ever seen one, but it worked. There was technically there's some outtake vents, but they're really small for like just your average air conditioning for like people, not for data center type level pumping that much hot air. But that room in the top ceiling only had like 2 squares that were open to the outside for like, they were like 3 feet by 3 feet openings to the next room or to the other building. Trying to pump out that much heat into that and directing it was a pain. So we had to build hot and cold aisles. So these really don't make sense because they're just all open air, and it's just all the heat's going up to the ceiling and being dispersed out that way. But yeah.
So right here. So hot cold aisles aren't only designed to disperse heat. You're actually supposed to have a raised floor too as well. But it also prevents condensation. Condensation's bad for electronics, if no one knows
Makes
that.
sense.
But
That's why you want to take water and run it over top of the electronic.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, you're not.
That's why water cooling is so good.
Well, see, water cooling. Water cooling is a horrible name for that because you're not doing water. It's using what's called dielectric coolant.
Yeah.
So it's not water, and like you can literally stick your fingers in it while electricity's running through it, and it won't shock you.
You can do like mineral oil. People have made mineral oil computers.
I don't recommend mineral oil because over time it's gonna eat away at your parts.
Yeah.
But you could buy this new. So, like my GPU in my PC at home is it's a water cooled PC, but all it's doing is it's using the oil that goes over the heat sink and pulls.
It's a radiator.
Yeah, it's just a radiator, just like in your car, and it pulls the hot, goes in through the radiator, cools it down. It's just a big circular loop. So
how do you manage?
It's way more efficient.
Condensation when you're talking about like you need a really dry environment, probably, right? But then when
most
the water
data centers
evaporate,
are kept around 50% humidity,
okay,
50
yeah,
to
so
60%. So they actually have like big humidifier or climate control systems in those buildings. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, 50% is pretty low, right? I mean,
Yes.
like humidity. So
average household's 44%.
What is the utilized individual storage in data centers? Like, how
Like the average user?
No. Like, let's. In what units do they have storage? Like, are we talking about like 100 terabyte? Are we talking about a petabyte? So like one small. I'm not talking about the whole storage center.
Okay.
But like, they're made up of like all these individual drives, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what are those individual drives clocking at? Like, how much storage is on an individual drive used in a data center? Do you know?
I mean, it depends, right? So it depends on utility.
Exabytes
Right.
of data.
So, well, no, I mean, you're talking about like if I want to go buy a hard drive and I want to make my own data center, how would I actually configure this server and how many hard drives it needs and what is one individual hard drive, right? Is that what you're asking?
But don't they? It seems like it would make the most sense for them to max out what they could do in a single drive.
No,
It's not.
you want redundancy, right? So there's a terminology called RAID.
Yeah, I use a RAID.
Yes.
Yeah.
So data centers have RAIDs and then they have redundancies of servers as well. So you can have like a server and you'll have like another image and then you'll have an offsite backup as well. So if this server goes completely down, I have a complete other copy of it in Arkansas, right? But like you have a RAID at home. If you can lose 2 out of the 3 drives, right? Because you're doing what? RAID 1?
I am doing RAID 5.
Okay. So you can lose 2 out of your 5 drives. You have 5 hard drives? You have 3 hard drives?
5.
So,
Yeah. So you can lose 2 of those before you actually
5
lose any
10
data.
terabyte
So
drives.
I have a NAS system at home, and it's 2 16 terabyte drives, and I don't have it RAID.
Yeah. So if you lose any of that, you're
I don't care.
you're
It's just
SOL.
pirated movies I've got off.
so you're saying
Which I can always get again.
So you're saying if like they would have it like maybe a different data center, the backup.
Again, utility is the main question.
Depending
here.
on how it's being used.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like if I like my iCloud, my phone, all my photos or whatever, like you have things in what they're called containers. And those containers are actually just multiplied in image and they're copied everywhere, right? Because as an end user, I don't want to be like, oh, my data, I'm sitting here waiting forever for it to download. I want it to be seamless.
So it could be
right?
all over the place.
It's copied everywhere.
You're poking holes right now in the ending to Free Guy, right? Where he goes into the data center and he takes the axe.
Well,
and he,
yes and no.
the
It all
server.
depends on how it's designed, right?
Yeah.
So that's the terminology that's coming out now called serverless.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's going serverless. There's still servers.
Yeah.
But you don't have to maintain your own.
All of that data
infrastructure.
isn't living in one particular
Correct.
spot.
It's containerized. It's moved out into other areas for redundancy, and every end user doesn't know the difference. But back to your question, it's like, if I want to maximize my utility and redundancy, say for like Freshmove Media, right? They have a one hard drive box.
Mm-hmm.
However, that hard drive is technically not in their server. So say, for instance, their server gets compromised and all their websites just go up. I can rebuild a whole new server and their hard drive is still protected because it's not even on the server. I can just reconnect it to the other one and then reimage everything else.
So to answer your question, one of the largest data centers can hold about 1.5 billion terabytes of data.
That's like
so
10
huge.
zettabytes.
That's at least more than
It's
what
one.
I have.
It can hold, like, each cabinet can hold 7.8 petabytes per cabinet, or 1.56 zettabytes.
1.56. Yeah.
And
off my
largest
What
data
comes
center.
after a zettabyte?
Yoda.
Yeah.
YOTT.
Yoda bytes.
YOTTA.
Yoda bytes. Baby Yoda bytes.
Yoda bytes. Meow.
Oh wow, we've really explored some topics.
Yeah,
on
we
this.
did.
This
We
is
really
good.
sailed the
Yeah.
sea today,
Yeah.
all the way across the Atlantic.
All the way across the Atlantic. Oh, yeah.
Well, we have a meme. We have a meme for today, right? I like this one a lot. So, talk about contrast, right? The Doritos bag that stands out. So if you go to the top here, feel like I won the lottery. The whole bag is like this, and it's covered. For those listening, it's just like Doritos covered in seasoning, like huge amounts of seasoning.
On
right?
both sides.
He says, "I'm the luckiest man in the world." Then the next tweet, "I don't feel so good." And then the final tweet in response, "You flew too close to the sun. Cool Ranch Icarus."
Love it.
Very good. Very good.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Think Fresh Move Forward podcast. Next week, we are talking about
Things and
what
stuff.
is it? Motivation versus discipline is what we have scheduled.
Is
Interesting.
that next week? Or are we on vacation next week?
No, it's the week after that.
You're out of town, I think.
No. No, you're here. No, it's the week after that is
Okay. Yeah.
is
Yeah. And then okay, I'm a week off. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not there yet.
Not there
So.
yet.
All right. Well, be sure to leave if you've made it this far and you listen to all our banter.
I love
Be
you
sure
guys.
to like, subscribe, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and then leave a comment below.
I thought people were the worst. What happened to that?
All right. I love you guys. Bye.
Peace out.